I mean, there's nothing better. This is like the crux and like the foundation of your database, right?
Listen, if you have 1,000 people in that total database, that should be 100 transactions. I know it sounds crazy.
I never called my database. That's the crazy part. And I
So, don't make that mistake, because like Dean said, you start seeing those properties get listed, and you're like, wait, why not me?
and or you would not accept a referral from them, remove them. I've trying to change my tune on this years ago. I'm glad I did, and I just asked very directly, like, hey, this is where it's going to come down to, right? Because a minimum of 10% of your past clients in your COI will refer business to you each year if you call them each quarter. So, all right, Phone Warriors Nation, you know what time it is. It's the Rich and Dean show right now, talking about this is the new series, the newer series now, I could say. And the topic today is past clients and COI. Rich, are you excited about this?
I'm extremely excited about today to talk about our past clients, center of influence. Subconsciously, we don't like to do it, but it is the most that you're going to make in a transaction.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was one thing that a lot of people, they tend to be in two different camps. Either they're calling their past clients and their centers of influence all the time, and they're so good at getting referrals. And then there's the other side, never call them at all, and they're just the hunters, and they want to go out after expireds and FISBOs and circle prospect all the time. And it's like, where can you get that middle ground? And that's kind of what we're trying to do here for you guys, is to bridge that gap mentally for you to know to go after the actual referral sources that are going to be the highest dollar cost and also advantage that you're going to have per hour. If you look on a scale for like dollar per hour, Rich, right? Like they're always like looking at. I mean, there's nothing better. This is like the crux and like the foundation of your database, right? That's the first point, which is funny. I didn't even realize this. I mean, past clients and COI are the foundation of which the real estate company is built, right? So, I mean, you can't get like any more clear than that. I mean, the reality is that, there's other nuances that you can put on top of if you have a strong agent referral network or you have different types of referrals, but the past clients in your COI are everything. And so I think, making sure that you are always having a game plan on that. And we're going to get to how should you follow up? What should you say to these people later? But that is the foundation.
Absolutely. And listen, point number two is, and it's true, and it could be higher, but it's expected that approximately 10% of our past clients, of our center of influences, of our sphere will refer us business, right? If you speak to them at least once a quarter, that's the key. 4 times a year, once a quarter. And don't get caught up if they're not picking up. Don't get caught up if you're leaving voicemails. Just get caught up in the habit of making those calls. And then listen, they're going to pick up and you're going to have a lovely conversation. And then, I don't know if there's a point in here, but you're going to want to bring something of value to that call once they do pick up. So it's very crucial that, listen, if you have 1,000 people in that total database, that should be 100 transactions. I know it sounds crazy, but you got to remember, you're not looking for all 1,000 people in that quarter that you talk to give you the deal, but you just want to put some cheerleaders out there for yourself.
100%, man. And number three is don't feel bad on that point if you haven't spoken to your clients in a while. Just call them anyway. They have not been waiting for your call. So many of us, we're thinking like, oh, Dean, like I haven't called the past clients. I don't know what to say then. It's been years. And I could give you my own example. I mean, I remember when, I was exposed to calling the database because I was that hunter mentality. I did not want to call people that I know, like, and trusted, funny enough. I just thought they would just call me. And
Yeah.
frankly, I just got in my own head and in my own way about that for years. In the first, I would say, 8 years of the business, I never called my database. That's the crazy part. And my business would be a lot different now. But looking, going forward, I said, you know what? Okay, fine. I got with the right coaching company, the right training company. They taught me how to work the system the right way. And it was just like, oh my gosh, Dean, you're calling. This is fantastic, right? And they weren't waiting, trust me. But I saw a lot of transactions happening that weren't with me from the database. And I said, you know what, going forward, this was about 6 years ago. I am never letting this gonna happen again. Like this is not gonna go through this and basically say, I'm not going to not call them. I'm going to make sure I call every single person, even if I haven't called them for a while.
Absolutely. And, it's just like myself is I go into the habits of calling the people that I had a good relationship, that I had a good bond with. And I kind of tend to always kind of cater to those people over just speaking to everybody who liked me, who trusted me, who actually gave me the ability to make a paycheck and help them get to the next level. I kind of wrote some of those people off. So don't make that mistake because, like Dean said, you start seeing those properties get listed. And you're like, wait, why not me? And yeah, why would it be you if you're not making not staying in communication with them? That is definitely not going to be you. So I'm in like 2013 right now, and it's very awkward when you haven't spoken to those people in years. But I'm using this philosophy: just don't think, just make the call. Which goes to my next point is, for these lists, if you created a list of 100 people, 50 people, 25 people, 1,000 people, 500, doesn't matter what the number, but if you get to a name and address a person and you're not going to call them and you skip over them, the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, and you have consecutive skips, just remove them off of the list. Do not think about it, and just get people in there so when you are excited that you're going to want to talk to the people, and then that's okay to remove it. But listen, if they're not picking up your calls and you like them, that's a different situation to not remove them. But if it's just like you don't want to talk because in our minds we did bad deal with them, they overpaid for a property or they lost on a property when we sold it, don't get into your own head. That's us. They could be thinking something completely different. But just remove them off the list if you're not going to call them. Save yourself time and energy and keep moving.
100%. Here's, I'll make it real simple for everyone to understand. This is what was taught to me, and it makes perfect sense. Is that if you won't do business with them anymore after whatever transaction that you had with them, and or you would not accept a referral from them, remove them. That's the criteria, at least that I go by, always, no matter how, like, wishy-washy the deal went or what have you. So, and number 5 is always bring value to the call when speaking to them. The higher the value, the higher the number of referrals you're going to receive. Plan your calls in advance. So now part A on this is determine the theme of your calls based on what's happening in the marketplace. And then part B of it is bring value to the calls and ask a lot of questions. So now, what is the value to a database call? And a value to me, and then Rich, I want to hear your thoughts on this, is like the value to me is, well, number one is you want to see where they're at with the property that they own, and or there are other properties that they have in their portfolio. Like, hey, what's been happening with the tenants that you have? What's been happening with you guys in terms of, the kids growing up? Are you guys, satisfied in the space? What's been new? More like a check-in, so it's more like a, checkup from the neck up, like, at first glance. And then the other value piece is sharing with them what's been actually happening in the actual marketplace. Now, whether or not they're ready to receive that message, it's irrelevant because you qualify that by saying, hey, have you guys been following the market at all? Gonna get like an idea, high level. Have you been touching base on it? Have you seen, checking Zillow, what have you? And one of the things is, I mean, look, if they haven't, great. I go right into this is what's been happening in the marketplace. And it's something that I think you guys should, look into. And then you give your predictions over the next 3 to 6 months, what's going to happen. And you do that by absorption rate and a few other items of value as well. So what about you, Rich? What do you see this as?
I think that a theme is very important, and the value is very important. So one of my coaches was just extremely big on past clients, centers of influence, and just building this up to get the business. And one thing would be is that if you're calling, let's say Johnny, because you decide, Johnny's next on the list, and you call him, and your intention is just to have a conversation with them about nothing, and Johnny decides to call you back later that day, the next day or 2 days, at some point in time, and he catches you off guard, then it's gonna hurt you because you're like, oh, I'm just checking on the family. And there's no value in that. Checking the family, that's great. You want to talk about the kids, that's great. You want to talk about the wife, that's great. You're kind of seeing what's going on, but there's no substance here. So if you have a theme, like for instance, like my theme right now that I'm still going through and on its near end is that a lot of people did not know about the real estate lawsuit that recently got passed in August, right? And it was big headlines, but the amount of people that I would speak to, and I'm like, hey, they're like, oh, what are you calling for? I'm like, oh, this, we're just talking about a lot of people have a lot of questions about the new real estate settlement, the lawsuit. What have you heard about it? Number one, and what are your thoughts if you have heard about it? The amount of people saying not. But the point is, when they call me back, I already know what I want to talk about. All right, but next point, point number 6 is develop an inner circle, guys, of all clients that you will call monthly. So some of these clients should be people that can be and will refer you a high number of people each year. Typically, clients with their own kind of clientele, their own database, their own, best people. The best people for this list are like your accountants, your CPAs, your mortgage lenders, any type of lender, your insurance people, like people that have like a book of database that they're talking to a lot of people at a high level. You kind of want to fast track that and try to talk to them more on a monthly basis and kind of build more of a rapport because they're gonna be in front of more eyeballs and they're gonna be able to help you out and basically refer you, and you want to stay top of the mind. Which is ironic. Dean was telling me that his accountant use a realtor down by them and kind of use them by default. And then when that person was calling them back, he wasn't calling back with like any value and wasn't doing anything. So the whole reason why he didn't want to rework with them is because it wasn't bringing anything to the table. So a lot of people in the same industry as us, they're going to respect it. They might not pick up, but once again, my current coach tells me these are billboards. We're leaving billboards when we're making when they see the missed call, when they see the text message, when they see the voicemail. It's just, hey, I need to get something to Rich, I need to get something to Dean. So this is extremely important because we're building our A clientele compared to our B and C, which would B and C would probably be just your overall people that you're on a quarterly basis. But you should have that like, hey, listen, guys, you guys made it to my A list. Or, hey, guys, you made it to my A plus list or something like that, and make them feel special. So every time you're calling them, it makes them feel good.
100%. I love that. And then it's all about the frequency and the familiarity that builds up over time, right? And for these people that are constantly doing business. And so number 7 is you should get that list. This list is huge. I mean, this point is huge because you need to get the list to a big number, which is set a goal to build the list at least to 500 names over the course of the next 2 years. Because here's the conversion. Here's the optimal conversion that we all should be striving for is 10% should equal, in this case, with 500 names, 50 deals. If you're working it the right way, and again, we'll talk about that later, is that you should be converting at least 10% or close to it, like 8 to 10% minimum of a conversion with the database. And if you're not, I would be looking at, what is your frequency? What is your familiarity? How are these relationships really done up? And that's really the point here.
Exactly. And that is exactly the point. So that's a great point. And we all should strive for that. Next point is the best time to ask for a referral is the start of the business relationship, right? After they bought a property, after they listed your property with you, after the closing, those are the best times to start and ask for a referral because that's when they're the most happiest with you and they want to try to help you out because they know that you're going to be doing great things for them or you actually did something great for them. So do not be afraid to ask for the referral. A lot of us forget this point to ask. The good things come to those who ask, not wait in this situation.
100%. Yeah, it's the complete opposite. And it's so funny because I always look at like, mentally in my head, Rich, about like, it's almost like a chart. And I see this mentally where if you ever notice, if you guys do business, for at least the last, let's say 5 to 10 years, you'll know that basically it is high emotion, all good, all great when you list the property. And then no matter how good it is, offer wise and everything else, it just seems that it just kind of teeters off that like those high points in the deal. And I always find that it's so to this point, it's either right when you list the property or go under contract, let's say with a buyer, or make an offer, let's say. And then the other point would be ideal time would be right after the closing happens, and that's really because you're able to know that everything's closed out and just like things are nice and settled, hopefully, at that point. And so we must be specific though when we do ask for a referral. This is number 9, because the more specific we are, the more likely the client will think about it. Example: who do you know that wants to sell, let's say, in the next 30 days? So this is something where a lot of us, if you're involved in trainings and coaching, okay, I hear the word, let me know if you have any real estate needs, or let me know who do you know who's looking to buy, sell, rent, or whatever. It's like all these different directions. It's like, let's just get really clear on why you're calling. I mean, who is the optimal referral that you're looking for? And just ask for it. I mean, and they usually will tell you, well, no, I don't know anyone looking to sell, but I do know someone who's looking to purchase. Do you work with that? Of course I do. Perfect. Yes. Okay. Right. So this is like where a lot of agents I see kind of mess up. I'm trying to change my tune on this years ago. I'm glad I did. And I just ask very directly, like, hey, who do you know that would benefit from an introduction to talk about their real estate? Whether it's, getting a quote on a piece of real estate, or a property that they own. And I'm very clear about that. Who would benefit from an introduction? And it's something has been working for us, and I'm glad that we're putting it out there.
That's great. And I hear you saying that day in and day out. So we know it works. Point number 10 is, listen, it's okay for anybody that's a past client, anybody who's in your sphere, that we can drop voicemails to them. I know we kind of touched upon this earlier, but it's okay to drop the voicemail because you already have established some type of relationship with these people, right? I mean, we can go a little granular in respect to, listen, we can track how many calls since that, the last time we spoken to them, and if we can go back to the other portion where, hey, listen, if you don't want to call them, remove them off of your list. But at the end of the day, it's like I was saying before, like, your past clients and your sphere is just a billboard, and if you have a lot of people in it, it's just that many more people that you're driving by, and all of a sudden they start seeing you in other places. Like, you ever see that analogy where, like, you're looking to buy a new car and all of a sudden you've never seen it on the road, and you see everywhere that you turn, in the parking lots, on the highways, and on the main streets, everywhere like that. This is the same thing that you're going to do, because then they're going to start seeing you, whatever. They're going to start recognizing your emails. They're going to start recognizing your text message. You're going to start recognizing if you follow them on social, and they're going to be so much more better to be able to refer you business.
Yeah, and if you want to hear something funny, Rich, too, I mean, if you remember this, I had a transaction in Hoboken last year, and I had reached out to this past client for 5 years, and it was every 3 months for 5 years. I reached out. She never picked up the phone for 5 years. Every 3 months, I left a voicemail. Okay, so if you total that up in terms of time, and then when the time was ready, when she was looking to sell, she called me. She's like, I've been getting your voicemails for X number of years. Really appreciate the reach out, and I'm ready to sell. And it was just like, okay, ready to go. Right. So leaving voicemails is not an issue at all. We should all be doing it at a very high level. Point number next is stay consistent with the frequency of the calls and be sure to bring the value on every call. You want to train them to instantly refer you when they know of someone that needs to buy or sell. So now, staying consistent in the frequency, I talked about this a little bit, but you want to be consistent. We do every 2 to 3 months, depending upon the level of the quality of the referral, right? So, Rich had talked about, anyone in your COI, your tax attorney, your accountants, your lawyers, etc., your lenders, they should be called on a monthly basis if they're pretty active in the community. But the consistency of the reach out and the message is so, so critical. So many people will like do this for like 3 months, Rich, and then they'll just like stop, and then they're like, oh, I don't get anything from my database, and you go like a year later and you're like, why is it not working? It's really like you need to plant those seeds the right way for it to grow anything. It's almost like a reverse way of farming. People farm in the business where they send out postcards in a community, like thousands of postcards in one community over the course of many years. But what's the difference? All you're doing the same thing as here. These are people that just know, like, and trust you. So it's a lot less selling in the back end, a lot more just staying in touch, creating that rapport and relationship, so that when they know, like, and trust you already, they're not thinking, who should I go with? They already know who they're going to go with. Now it's just a matter of, what should we price it at and what should we do? So staying consistent creates that opportunity for you to do that.
Absolutely. And consistency does not come unnoticed, right? People do recognize that, and just be true to yourself and stay consistent. That's everything. That's everything that's really important to any salesperson that's out there. So the next point is that when you ask everybody that you do business with, right? So anybody you exchange a dollar with, whether it's the pizzeria, right? Whether it is your barber, your hairdresser, the person you buy your car from, doesn't matter. Anybody that you exchange with, right? That you pay their business and you're helping their business, they should want to, in return, help you build your business, right? So then you should be adding them into your centers of influence, right? And then you should be talking to them on a consistent basis, right? And when you do that, that's how you're going to start building up the people you know. So just remember, like, it's not just the people that you grew up with, and it's not just your family, right? It's over the course of your career, the course of your life. We're always going to talk to a lot of people. So don't be afraid to add them. And you can either ask them for permission that you're going to add them and you're going to follow up with them with some value, or it's okay just to add them in and then just make a random call and then just pretend to be like, hey, I was thinking about you. And, as you know, I'm a professional real estate agent and, X, Y, Z, and boom, you can start building up a relationship. And then now it's so much more easier for you to do that. But rule of thumb is, you pay them money to help their bills, they should help you pay your bills.
I love that, dude. And the point number next is so critical as well. Like, when a past client and a COI gives you a referral, be sure to call them and thank them regardless of the quality of that referral. Don't just, like, be like, well, only I want good ones. Of course we want good ones, but you don't want to not reward that action. And so rewarding the action, not just the outcome, is super critical. And depending upon, even if it was I don't even care what price point. So just, like, imagine this, right? Something that I recently have been doing. What if you drop, let's say, you might send like a little card, hey, thank you, no, whatever. I've gotten like $25 gift cards before from other agents, things like that, right? What if we were to send some of our past clients and COI or agents in our database that give us a referral, whether it works out or not, $500 gift card, 250, $1,000, something outrageous, outrageous. What do you think would happen in their mind to be like, this is crazy. Are you serious? Well, yes, because I'm rewarding the action. I'm not just trying to reward what if they buy or not. And a lot of agents, I think, they just, like, the ones that don't get a lot from their database, they don't, like, really respect it. But there's a cost, and there's also a way to do this the right way. So that, to me, is something I would do. I'm not saying we should do that for every single person. What I'm saying is, it's just an option to reward, as an example, the action, not just the outcome.
Absolutely. That's a great point. And, listen, that's the law of reciprocity, right? You give something and you expect something back, but it's also how you felt. And when you feel a certain way, you're always going to want to, help out somebody else. So you're always going to be even at a greater state than you already are at that point in time. Next point is, listen, guys, if you want to improve your ratios, right? And you want to improve your listing and your buyer side ratios, and more importantly, the only way to get there is work with your past clients and your centers of influence. That's it. You can add expires, you can add FISBOs, you can add circle prospecting, just listed, just sold. You can add that. But if you want to see your numbers skyrocket to when you go on an appointment to get a contract signed, that's your centers of influence. That's your sphere. That's the way they trust you. They already like you. All you have to do is become a professional in their eyes. Do not treat it as like, oh, I got this as a slam dunk. You show up ready, and you show up as a professional, and you get the contract signed, and then you move on. Right. So if you want to see your numbers go from 40% to 50%, 50% to 70%, 70% to 80 or 90%, and you're not working with your past clients or your centers of influence, you're missing out on, if you're into the whole KPIs, you're missing out on a huge chunk of business right there.
I mean, it's 100%, correct. But that's the thing, like to your point, Rich, is that you're going to improve not only because you're showing up and like you're just skill wise, you're just like that much better, but like you already had that built-in trust, right? And that is so critical. I mean, I heard one of our what I call YouTube mentors once say, he talks about the business, it goes at the speed and runs at the speed of the level of trust you have with your clients and customers. So the higher the trust, the quicker your business is going to explode. And the last point, but not least, and then I'll give you guys, we'll give you guys the plan of action, so to speak, is build a reputation of being responsive, knowledgeable, and dependable. If you can show those traits, they will always count on you. I mean, I got 2 referrals today, from my best clients, just because I reach out. They didn't pick up the phone 3 weeks ago when I called, but he reached out and says, "Hey, I have somebody." Right? That is
Mm.
so. What an amazing opportunity that is, and it took me a while to kind of like be okay with that because again, I had this hunter mentality, very a certain way of doing it. And so I want to end by showcasing what we have in the Dean Clark Group and also Rich Adamski playbook that we share with our teams and also organization. And so what is this is like the crux of how to work your database the most effectively. And there's different nuances that we can share. I'll let Rich, go next here, but this is where it's going to come down to, right? Because a minimum of 10% of your past clients and your COI will refer business to you each year if you call them each quarter. So this is what you have to do. You're going to call all of your past clients and COI at least between 1 to 3 months, depending upon the level of whether it's someone that you've like are giving money to, like a CPA, a lawyer, a lender, and all your past clients, depending upon if they moved out of state, either 1 to 3 months. So you're calling them at 1 to 3 months. The second way I've had to reach them is do what we do is an email 2 times a month. So they're getting something via email on the web, either relating to a market update or some sort of like recipe or just something fun that we do. And then number 3 is a physical mailer. Yes, I said it. It's a physical mailer. It still works. It still is. I get texts all the time from past clients, and they're just like, "Hey, I just got your recipe for this month, and little physical mailer here, like that." And that happens once a month. So they're getting hit once a month with a physical mailer, 2 times a month with an email, and they're getting a physical phone call from me at least one every 3 months. So that right there seems to work with at least a 9 to 10% conversion rate on the size of our database. And so I know people do like some events. I think Rich, you do that as well. So if you want to talk about that, that's also another great converter to grow and also, from that perspective. But that's what we do here at the Dean Clark Group.
Oh, well, as far as the events go, the events are great if that's what you guys like to do, you like to host, you like to be in front of people. But the events is just another extension for a reason to call your past clients and, to invite them to something special. So it's just an easier way if you guys are not into making those calls and you want to host 4 parties a year. Hey, listen, do that. It's easier, right? But at the same time, it also comes down to what else you're gonna do. Like, you could do pie giveaways. That's important. So people do that. Name of the game is if you're gonna do something for your past clients, you just gotta do something. Stay in front of them. Stay consistent. Emails is a great way if you want to hide behind it. But if you're not doing all the other things, your emails are gonna get lost, right? So as far as what we do is, we used to. I didn't do it this year. I was a little bit too preoccupied, but we used to do 2 events a year. We're going to end up just doing one major event coming up real soon, and from there we're going to just continue to we're gonna do a pie giveaway as well. So there's like a few things that we're gonna do. There's people that do those magnets and send the magnets in the mail and stuff like that. There's people that I know that send little gift cards, $5 Starbucks gift cards to everybody and drop it off. So there's many different ways that you guys can go about staying in front of them if you want to do some check equity. But if you want to do the sweat side of it, Dean's playbook: email, text, call them, and drop something in the mail.
Yeah, man, and that's so critical. You said that. I want to drive that point home for everyone that's listening right now. Is that, guys, if you're doing an event, what Rich just said, it's another reason to call because you're inviting them to do something, but another reason to physically reach out. And that's the reality, right? So it's just like a perfect, what a great opportunity for that. Like how much value can you provide there? So guys, with that being said, that is the database. And I hope you guys got really good value here. I mean, I know, we harp on this on our teams. We encourage, we're not big, for the teams that we have, we are not big, and even partners that we, great agents that we partner with in our organization, we are not like, let's say, all the time these Zillow Flex and big spenders on these big billboards, right? So for us, what you're listening to in the Phone Warriors side of things is how have we been able to, by our skill, work ethic, consistency, scheduling, and also what is the main driver? The database is literally the start of it. It is the start and end of every. And then, by the way, that's your whole business, by the way, right, Rich?
Absolutely.
It's your whole business. This is what it is, guys. So this is what how you value a real estate business is by the size and the quality of your database. So hope it's been great for you guys, Phone Wars Nation. Thank you for listening again, and we'll catch you in the next series.